Yo, brother Hugh.
Yes, sir.
I guess we acted up a little bit too much last week. The realness said, "Hold up, hold up, hold up. Let me get back control of this shit."
Be back in the building. Yes.
What did you guys do?
Look, man, you let two people who've been doing this for over what 12, 20 years get together on a microphone by ourselves. What did you think was going to happen?
You know what? I shouldn't have been surprised.
Houston, we have a problem. Yes!
What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?
Oh, yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. And I am the one and only Brian H. Waters. And I'm joined by my brothers. I got the real Dwayne Allen. I got
That's me.
brother Hugh. What's up, fellas? How y'all feeling?
I'm gravy. How are y'all?
I'm chilling, brother. Once again, back here to talk a little wrestling. That's as much as I can do. Macho Realness will not be making an appearance tonight for obvious reasons that I'm not going to say on air because I said it off air already.
Right.
Hey, look, it don't even matter. Now we know that's all that matters. But yeah, it's been a week and a day. We decided, yesterday wasn't going to work, so we decided to record on a Thursday. But guess what? I mean, it
Because
just gave
our show
us
we
more
do what we
material.
do.
Bingo.
I think so. I think it worked out though.
Yeah,
I think
it
worked out.
did. I'm kind. I mean, we all good Christian brothers here. Good Lord knew what he was doing.
Praise the
So,
Lord.
like you said, it worked out. Before we get into the wrestling stuff and all that, how y'all feeling? That's the most important part.
Brother Hugh.
Hey man, I'm feeling good, man. Nice and healthy. Had a nice little run today.
Oh, really? Wait. Oh, what
Waters
time out?
working out too. Okay.
How was that? Hey,
Oh, it was lovely.
okay.
My
I see that.
He called me up and said, "Hey man, I'm getting ready to go walking." I said, "Well, look, I'm walking out the door too. Let's walk together."
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. That's some good healthy living right there.
Right. Little motivation for both of us,
And I even got on the bike or the elliptical afterwards. So it like later on in the day, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna just get this part out of the way. While I was on the elliptical, I went down the line. I did some time traveling, watched some Monday Night Raw. With the night that Ahmed Johnson joined the Nation of Domination. Now, like I said, I told y'all know I missed a lot of this 97 stuff. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, why didn't this work? And of course, Twitter, everybody on Twitter, you know how sometimes you just put something out there and you don't expect a lot of response, but then they say, everybody sending you something and they all saying the same thing. So I thought that was hilarious. But how about you, Dwayne?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Ripping and running. And like I said, just eating healthier. Just completely decimated my calorie intake. But you got to do what you got to do to get where you want to go. So I'm feeling quite good. But before we move on, would you guys like to know what I'm watching? Usually this is my new thing now. When I put on some type of wrestling something to keep my mind, kind of in the right space. Would you guys like to know what I'm watching this time as we do this podcast episode?
Absolutely. What are you watching, Mr. Realness?
I am watching WWF No Way Out 2002.
Ooh.
Woo! Hold on. Might as well say, what did you watch? But you know what? Guess what? What are you watching? It can all fall the same thing. Yeah, that's what's up.
It starts out pretty hot with the return of the NWO. 2002.
That's one I wish I would have saw live.
They came out very misunderstood. Like, look, man, we're here to make peace.
Yeah. And then the next night, you know, when The Rock and Hogan was like taking pictures, he's like, I'm gonna take a picture with you, Rock, for my child. So yeah, that was the beginning of something special though, right there. That was if I'm not mistaken, is that Austin and Jericho for the title?
Honestly, I do not remember.
Yeah, I think that's Austin.
This is around that fuzzy time for me where it was I was kind of in and I was kind of out.
Got you.
Now,
in 02?
Yeah, 02. Yeah, my brother was. This is around the time where I was starting to. No, well, yeah, I was fizzling out. Like I was watching. Was I watching around? Yeah, I stopped watching around late 2002, early 2003.
Okay.
But yeah, this is around the time I was. This is after this WrestleMania is when I kind of started to phase out a little bit. My brother was still watching full time, and I would, act like I wasn't paying attention, but I would always know what was going on, but I just never watched the actual show.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep. So, yep. That's
Jericho and Stone Cold. Yeah.
Yep. There it is.
20 years ago. That's crazy.
No, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it goes into one of my top. I don't know. They changed now. Easily. Well, yeah, it's still a top 5 WrestleManias for me. Like I watched that. I can watch WrestleMania 18 in its entirety.
And not to change the subject, but you don't want to get another slight tidbit for all of our sneaker enthusiasts out there.
Oh, what you got?
Ooh.
Kevin Nash, I just noticed, is wearing a pair of infrared 6s. So for all the people out there in the sneaker community, I never noticed that. I said, "Oh, check Kevin Nash out, big sexy." He's wearing a pair of infrared 6s. I just looked down. I said, "Wow, look at that! He's got J's on his feet." Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. That's one thing I've noticed in the wrestling community, as far as the wrestlers and the fans. There's a lot of sneakerheads.
Big time. Yeah. It's way bigger than I realized.
Yeah, you should have seen when Brother Hugh stepped foot into the WSU locker room. And just being out there.
He was notorious. Remember, he used to do that back in the day. I remember seeing y'all WrestleMania pictures.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and it was always 2 guys. It was Hugh and Corey. I was like, let's see what they would have, either wrestling shirts or whatever shirts, and and at the time they both had matching hats, matching sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I was looking for the outfits every day. Every day it was a plus, and let me see what they got on with the fits on. Except for Hall of Fame, where everybody was suited out.
Right.
Corey wasn't. Though. Corey was like, nope.
Yeah, I was like, Corey. Corey wasn't. But yeah, man, I used to look forward to that. Everybody got their sneakers on, but the sneaker community is huge into wrestling.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that, like I said, you don't pay attention to until you. After a while, you start to see certain people in the same circles, and you're like, "Oh wow!" And like I said, with apparel kind of changing a little bit and styles kind of merging, you're seeing sneakerheads match up their favorite sneakers with their favorite chalk line outfits, which I think is dope. So yeah,
I think that's what I'll be excited to see y'all two do next.
Hey, I'm working on coming back into the game, man.
I'm looking forward to, man. I'm just really taking off like I wanted to for the first time. Right. When you're on a budget, you got to do so much, man. But I'm in a.
It's called brilliance.
I'm on a more financially settled place in my life now, so I'm like, oh yeah, this is the fun part.
Yeah. So, let me start to splurge a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Man. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's probably shoes, sneakers these days cost the same amount as a wrestling replica, which is why I don't have a lack of replicas, but I have a plethora of shoes now.
Mm-hmm.
Totally
understand. Hey, I finally got the shoes I've been looking for. Well, waiting to get the Jordan 12s.
Did you notice you did it? I just found this out like 2 days ago.
Yeah, he just told me today.
See, I had no idea. He's like, I got a pair of J's, and I was wondering what. Usually, you never know what that means, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, what you got? I was, Brian Ace is not, one to be. Overly particular when it comes to like J's and stuff like that. Right. So I was curious. I was like, oh, okay, wait. So what you get? I knew it didn't matter what pair he got. It had to be it was something he really wanted, and 2 is the reason behind it. So I was curious, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I had to get the I got the royalties. I was kind of always wanted the taxis, but this is closest thing to it. This is the shoe I wanted when I was a kid, and I was floored. I was blown away. And then in the conversation, I'm like, yeah, I got those 2, by the way. We should swing one." I say, "Oh yeah, I understand what you mean, because guess what? I went and got them too. So we're in the same boat."
Shout out to brother Corey, because as always, like he the one who was like, "Oh man, you know how Corey go, you can get him."
Yeah, he's either a good influence or a bad influence.
Bingo. And that was the thing. Like he was like, "Well, you can get the royalties." I was like, "Look, it wasn't about either whether it's the taxi, the royalties, or whatever. It was just that the 12, that color scheme,
Yeah.
So as long as it was, black on the bottom and white on top, that's all that mattered. Like I said, the time Martin gave them away,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh, those are tight." And I remember my boys, shout out to Daryl and Gerard. They had Daryl had the taxis and Gerard had the playoffs, and they were both like rock them in 5th grade. Now I remember I was in 4th. We was in a split class, and I remember like, wow, those some dope shoes. But I wasn't asking my mother for no Jordans. Crazy. We went to Catholic school.
Yeah, that's why all the Jordans went to that tuition money. I've been there too, brother.
Exactly.
I think we all been there. Now that I think about it,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember
we came from that generation where there was no extra because your parents paid for your tuition.
Boom, you hit it right on the head, brother.
It is.
And for me, I remember like when we was playing a WrestleMania arcade game, and it's like, yo, do Bret Hart got on Jordans? Because you know how the game, like the way it's not as detailed as it is today. Shout out to WWE 2K coming out this weekend. Finally, we're gonna have some content on our Twitch channel. But I was like, man, this is like, I really want those shoes. And every year it's like I miss them, don't have the money when they come out. And just literally a simple conversation with 3 of the craziest sneakerheads I know. Are y'all ready?
Break it down. No
I've already said brother Corey.
Got it.
I've already said brother Hugh.
Got it.
And the other person, the one and only, the bloodline, Britt Waters. I ain't stand a chance.
Nah, yeah. Jesus. That was one of the first conversations we had when I made the appearance on her show.
I remember.
I remember
my wrestling opinion.
That was. I remember that was one of the first things we talked about.
Yep. Corey, Britt, and Hugh had me buy a pair of Jordans.
Yeah. Hey man, listen, man. I'm glad to have you on the side of the fence, man. Mm-hmm. It's something about that being a part of our childhood. It's only right.
And speaking of which, right, we can even go back to
You picked up the mic.
We can go back to
it's serious when you pick up the mic.
2006. This brother Hugh, right?
Story time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, story time.
Story time with Brian H. That should be a new segment.
Yeah.
There it is.
I walk in. This is when Hugh was working at his former place of employment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in.
That's what we called it.
Yeah. Yes.
Got it. Perfect. I just want to make sure I'm on board.
No free advertising. They ain't paying us. And we walk in there, and I see these shoes, and they're the Dub Zeros. I was like, yo, I need those. And again, I've never been a sneakerhead, but when I like something, I like something. You feel me? And it's either I'm either going to get it or I'm going to forget about it, move on. And he said, don't worry, bro, I got you. I said, how much? He's like, $60. Give me a week or two. I'm working in Johns Hopkins in the nutrition storeroom where I'm bringing home like $400 every 2 weeks, luckily, right? Came in there, my $60. Brother Hugh said, here you go. Gave me a little tag or whatever, put it on the shoe, checked out, $60 flat. Man, I thought I was the man with those Dub Zeros.
Here's my only problem with that story. We called it his former place of employment, but then you just kind of implied where he worked at.
I did. I said I didn't say the name, did I?
No, you didn't say the name. She's like, yeah, his former place of employment. Where I went there, and then he handed me the shoes, and he went in the back.
Well, we knew it was a shoe store. You know how many shoe stores?
Right.
My fault. I didn't know if we confronted it was a shoe store or not.
Yeah. So,
hey man, listen,
yes,
them Dub Zeros made you feel like a champ. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Bingo.
But you know what? You want another sneaker tidbit? I don't know if you guys remember that, but you remember that shoe that you love so much, Brian H.
Mhm.
That's the same shoot that remember Corey did in the TRDA shoot that we did.
Oh, I remember.
Oh,
I remember.
that's
And if
right.
Because
you
we had the conversation then.
yeah,
And he told me they was going. He said, I believe he said December or February. You know, he be having that calendar. But yeah, I remember that.
You know what? I just remember that I have a pair of Dub Zeros right here in my house.
I remember because you wore them recently.
Right, yeah, I forgot all about it.
There's certain shoes I remember, just like SummerSlam, Dwayne. That's how I bought the Griffies. Hugh
Right.
walks
I do
in my
remember that.
house
Yeah.
with them.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, yo, you really, I was trying to get those shoes. You gonna walk in here with them?
What
And he was
color
like-
did you have, brother? Did you have the Freshwaters?
They're not the Freshwaters technically. They're called the Sweetest Swing.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and I ended
It's like a reverse scheme of the Freshwaters.
Mhm.
and I ended up liking those even better than the Freshwaters, to be honest with you. And he was like, nah, bro, just try them on. Try them on. Yo, and I was like, no, try them on. I said, all right, I tried them on. He said, now look, go right here, boom, boom, boom. Went to the website, got them.
Right
Hey
there.
man, I'm appreciating all the sneakerhead influence going on right now.
No, I would not be a sneakerhead.
Hey
But
man, listen.
then again, I never thought I'd have a lot of belts. Shout out to Brandon Guy, who
there you go.
I counted, gave me 5.
Wow.
So yeah.
Right. Shout out to Brandon Guy.
Huh?
That's my guy right there, Brandon Guy.
Oh yeah, good brother. Good brother. Good brother. Good brother.
To day one. Hey, I told y'all the 2001 tape, because of that man right there. Me and my grandmother have like my last memory is with watching my last WrestleMania memory with her, WrestleMania 17, because this brother came to school the next day with the tape.
Now that's just clutch, man. You can't trade that in for nothing. That's a memory that'll never go to you. That lasts a lifetime.
Facts.
Need more good brothers like him in the world.
Yeah, ones that ain't selfish, Shout out to him. Drink water, the Brandon Guy. He's still around though. He gonna laugh at this. Brian.
He's probably gonna get you back for this too, by the way.
He gonna watch this like, Brian, what you think makes me like I'm dead?
He said drink some water. Like we're not pouring out for the dead homies. We're gonna sip water for the live ones.
Oh, speaking of which, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna jump. We'll talk. We can talk about it now. With this South show, we do what I want, what we want.
That's always the rule.
So the other day for the day job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last week we talked about Finn Balor getting a win.
Uh-huh.
So I clipped that off, and it was a part where Evan had talked about Balor. He's excited and he's like, yeah, we're so happy. I want to drink up. And so he called him Fergalicious, right? So Balor quotes tweeted Fergalicious.
Oh, Fergalicious, man. That's dope.
So he quote tweets it and he goes, Fergalicious is back or something, drink up. But Fergalicious not going down without a fight, drink up, right? So, I'm like, cool. He quote tweeted the tweet we put out there, whatever, right? And Evan's like, yo, he goes, man, I hope, when he thought about it, like, man, I hope we ain't put out nothing bad. I said, his wife even told him, like, you think Brian would have let it go if you said something bad? So then the next week, last Monday, Balor wins the title. So I'm on, a FaceTime call with, shout out to Ashley, Renee, Mark Gunnels, and Brandon Williams. We all, laughing and geeking, right? I mark up, Balor just won the title. Because I knew, we was going to talk about it. So then he was like, we put another tweet out, and then he replied, like, the love is here. So, yeah, that's when we talk about, drinking up. He said, drink up, Fergalicious.
Man, I love the best part about is when I love when all his friends, call him like Fergie and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, Fergie, because my grandmother's sister's name was Fergie.
Okay.
Her name was On Ann, but that was her, her nickname was Fergie. Her last name was Ferguson, so they, my grandmother called her Fergie. They were sisters, and so every time I hear that name, man, I automatically get good vibes from it. So like when you hear like the Good Brothers, like, oh yeah, Fergie, like they gotta be talking about Fergal Devitt because it's good old Fergie. So when I heard Fergalicious, I couldn't help myself. That was a good one, Fergalicious.
But how y'all feel about him winning the U.S. title?
Man, I love it, man. I think it was a great momentum swing for him because I think Finn Balor's brand as a talent is huge. Absolutely. And to me, that shows him being utilized because I think that's the perfect. You need someone like him in that spot because he's going to make that title important. He's a main event player, and you know, and the crazy part is he's an older guy. Like he's 40 years old. You can't even tell. You know what I mean? But for him to be in that spot and usually that United States
Brother is
champion,
ripped.
yeah, I mean that for a guy to be like that. I mean, there's a handful of guys like that in WWE right now. There's quite a few. You know, we'll get into it as we keep going, but you know, he's somebody that can work in the ring first and foremost, but they can also work with the younger talent. So it doesn't matter who you put him in the ring with. Like he's gonna show his worth, man. I loved every bit of it. You know what I mean? You want to utilize your talent in that way, and I enjoyed it. I was happy, man, because it keeps him relevant. It keeps him in the mix. So I enjoyed it. I love the fact that he's United States champion right now.
I was about to say he's been out of the mix for a while now. So like to see him win that belt, and y'all know how I feel about Damian Priest anyway. He was kind of dry to me.
You were never a Punishment Martinez fan.
Yeah, I just got tired of him after a while. So it's good to see that Finn Balor, someone that I like, actually felt right back off of him, and he's being utilized. Hopefully he keeps it until WrestleMania. We'll see a good WrestleMania match. But hey, congratulations to Finn Balor.
I think with this right here, he'll take Damian Priest to another level.
Yeah.
There's, you know, even people saying, will we see possibly the Damian versus the Demon? It would be tight to see. It would be tight to see the Demon interest at WrestleMania in Jerry's world. I don't know if we will, but you know, overall, we're gonna get good matches. That's one thing we do know. And you want a good, solid guy at that mid card. That's the thing. Like we talk about like the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. Like you had solid mid card mafia, as the Realness coined it one time.
I remember we used to call it that.
Yeah, coming to a show near you.
Took me back.
Huh?
Took me back.
Yeah, you know, that's still in the notes, by the way. But it's one of those things, like, and I think Balor is the type of talent, and you know, will he be a Universal champion or world champion again? Maybe, maybe not. But I think right here, him being utilized, he's definitely somebody. I think you get the right, you know, you get some merchandise, it'll fly for him. So we'll see.
I mean, he's a fan favorite, man. At the end of the day, you know what I mean. And then like, I think it makes for interesting storytelling, right?
Yep.
Finn can play two different types of characters, right? He could be himself. He can smile, and then you know he showed his versatility as a heel. You know what I mean? NXT. You know, he can play a darker character, but then he has this alter ego that's it's kind of it's very mystic. You know what I mean? It's mystic, and it's got such a polarizing entrance and way of doing things. And it's like, man, you know, with Damian Priest, with this kind of split personality, you know, because you know, first he went from, if you guys remember his NXT days, he was this playboy. You know, first he came out, he was kind of evilish, like he was trying to, like, he was doing this Punishment Martinez thing. You know, he was part of Kevin Sullivan and BJ Whitmer's kind of devil group in Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
that's been done 1,000 times over, right? And then you know, he was kind of dark, and then they kind of just changed it completely. He was kind of like this playboy, kind of this party guy. He would win matches. I think he won a North American title in a jacuzzi with the girls.
Jacuzzi, yeah.
And then he kind of became the what they call the Archer of Infamy, right? And then he debuted with that same style of character, and he did well, but I think it was one dimensional. Like you could only do so much with it, and then they kind of had this whole dynamic where this person is play off his name Damian Priest, where it's like Damian's a historical horror movie name for a devil child, and then you have Priest that's kind of has a positive religious connotation to it. So there's got a split personality with this guy that can be a smiling babyface, but then immediately turn to this evil heel, you know, at the drop of a dime, and then him turning heel, and you know, so you have a lot of options to play off of, you know what I mean? And I like it because it allows him to stay as versatile as possible. He doesn't have to be pigeonholed to one thing, which sometimes Finn is, but like I said, you know, he can always go back and forth between, you know, his alter ego or himself. And I just like Brother Hugh said, man, I think it gives him a chance to work with a younger talent like Damian Priest and take him to a different level. And just to show what he can do. You know, Damian Priest is a bigger guy. You know what I mean? And I think Finn works well with bigger guys because he's that good. So I'm glad, man. I mean, you look at guys like Finn, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, these guys are in their 40s, and you can't tell. You know, even Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy. You know, we're talking about guys that are like, you know, when you look at Flair when he was 40 in WCW versus what the guys look like now, AJ Styles. You know what I mean? 40 is almost the new 40 is the new 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm enjoying it, man. I'm glad he's not just in these regular matches. Like they got him involved in something. And I think, you know, something that Sami Zayn said previously was he recently did an interview. He was just talking about his position in WWE. And he was like, man, you know, people can say what they want about this place being what it is. It's like it's not as toxic as it is. Like, you know, just because like I'm happy with my position in this company. I feel like they have faith in me and my character is doing more than I would ever be doing it anywhere else. You know, it's not about wanting more sometimes. Sometimes it's about being great at what you already do. And I was like, man, that's such a mature mindset when it comes to being the importance of your own personal character development. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that shows with a lot of these older guys because like when you look at Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, man, they're selling NXT every week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, usually it takes NXT talent to come to the main roster to work with older talent, but the way because they switched up NXT, you know what I mean? Like the Dirty Dogs are more popular than they've ever been, just because they're relevant in a smaller setting, but it's a smaller setting on a WWE scale. So it doesn't matter how many people are in attendance. NXT gets pushed the same way Raw SmackDown gets pushed, and then they come and they do spots on Raw to advertise what they're going to do the next day on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever they do. I'm like, man, it's genius. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah.
So, like I said, kudos to all the 40-year-old guys that are still killing it. They don't look 40.
Yeah, goals, man. You know, like you said, the business is changing. Also, way people being more health conscious. Like if you look at, you know, everybody loves to talk about the ruthless aggression era, but you ever see those pictures of like Kane, Triple H, and Big Show of how they looked in like the mid 2010s versus how they looked in the mid 2000s?
Right.
Like they're in much better shape.
Yeah, it's weird
because
yep.
we're just, you know, more health conscious. You know, we get people evolve and, you know, with their ideas and their mindset evolves as well.
Right.
Speaking of evolve and evolution, you know,
Yes!
How fitting.
We talked about purchases, you know, and I purchased some Jordans, but it was a guy out there who made a much bigger purchase than I did.
What?
And that is Tony Khan buying ROH.
What?
Oh man, Tony Khan has purchased Ring of Honor Wrestling, and I'm not excited about it because to me, the value of what Ring of Honor is in 2022 is not the same as it would have been in the I call it the realness years of 2012 to 2015.
Those are good years for me.
But now, how do you feel about this purchase that just happened? Because the fun part is, this is the fun part. We haven't talked. Like the three of us haven't really talked about this yet.
We save all the stuff for the shows. So this is why it's organic.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I'm not excited about it. To me, the value would have been more. You could say the library, but guess what? Libraries ain't the same as they was in 2001 because guess what? Everything's on YouTube or some sort of cloud or program that people have access to anyway. But how do you feel?
Honestly,
my bad.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Hugh. Go ahead.
I just want to see the Briscoes. That's all I care about. But now, I had a discussion about it earlier with one of my friends. He was just trying to figure out like what would be the best direction to introduce like some of the talent. Like we can do like a invasion angle 2.0. I don't think that's very smart, but Brian and I actually talked about maybe an NXT type vibe, a third brand or a second brand for them, you know, to kind of like enhance the talent. Not exactly the NXT 2.0, but the NXT of old, so with your Tommaso Ciampas and whatnot. But honestly, I don't know. Like Brian said, the talent, the card, the roster is not really that strong right now, honestly. So is it really a good acquisition? Like, is it really gonna help them get over that hump of, like would it really take them to the next level? What you think about that, realness?
I mean, I don't. Here's my thing. I understand why. I understand when it comes to when it comes to the library. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing I have been is I've been a huge Ring of Honor connoisseur of their DVDs. That's one, like, we used to go to the shows. That was one of the first things that I used to look for at the merch table.
Sure enough.
Is because I mean, some of our favorite matches from that time, they kind of lived on in the DVDs.
Yeah.
When it comes from that perspective, I could understand. I don't really know the reason why he did it. I think it's good for wrestling in general to have someone that cares enough about professional wrestling to try to save a historic brand. Now, what, like I said, it goes back. It's going to boil down to, well, why did he do it? And we don't really know that for sure. But if his thing is, well, I want to save a value brand that has a lot to do with, a lot of superstars that are there right now. The CM Punks and the Daniel Bryans and the Adam Coles, where a lot of those guys made a name for themselves at. You know what I mean? But honestly, I don't know why he bought it. But like I say, and it's like Brian, as you said, when you look at the value of the library, like, well, it's not worth $40 million. You know what I mean? But I guess we kind of have to wait and see what he decides to do with it. Like, are they going to do a full rebrand, or are they just going to keep trying to do the same? Let things operate the same way they were. Because it was. We were, we're used to things being a certain way, right?
Yeah.
We used to always go to the show. We used to joke about Joe Koff being Sinclair.
Yo, he shook our hands at the last show.
Yeah, I mean, because we by the time it was all said and done, he knew who we were. But it just I don't know. It was one of those. It was a feel good moment for wrestling. But like, it goes to what Hugh said, man. Like, I don't think anybody would, if they did an invasion angle, I don't think anybody would know who anybody was unless you're a diehard. But I don't know. Like I said, it's been tossed around about this whole developmental idea and stuff like that. But man, I don't know. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm glad that it's not going to waste. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's the only thing that I really value right now, Ring of Honor, honestly, is the library. So
it'll be interesting to see WrestleMania weekend. We had that Supercard show. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now I'm expecting, maybe now. I mean, I think you was gonna probably have some AEW talent there anyway, just because they have that more freedom.
Right. They got another dark show. Like, here's what I would do though, if I was
put your booking hat on.
If I was AEW, right, and I was looking to rebrand or what's what I'm looking for? Re-show Ring of Honor in a different light, right?
Revitalize.
Sure, there you go. Like, if I was, I would take my budget and I would invest in production, but I would do it in a very, very, very small venue, kind of like NXT does. Very, very closed in, pack in with a lot of fans. Same way the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood does.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The old school WCW Worldwide does. Put them in the old Impact Arena. Take a small setting, pack a lot of fans in there, put in some good lighting, and then book your shows that way. Because I think towards the end, they were doing medium-sized venues and they had big stuff, but they didn't really bounce back from from the COVID era of professional wrestling, where they were with no fans, and all of a sudden we had a little bit of fans in there. And then they kind of darked it out. I think if they did that, if they can kind of put the show on a different pedestal.
So you saying take it back to like the Do Burns days with better production?
Yeah, man. But just like when we first went to Do Burns, they closed it up. They took a section of that whole area. They didn't use the whole arena. You know what I mean?
Right.
They took a section of the whole arena and they kind of sectioned it off, right?
Facts.
And then they lit it up really well. So when you saw it on TV, it looked like we were packed in there. And that's kind of what changed the image of what Ring of Honor was before, prior to what we were looking at when we were there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think if they take that approach going forward, I think it would help, because they would help their that product seemed like a bigger deal versus a big empty arena and guys in the ring, because now it looks like, when I look at it from TV from a distance, nobody cares about what you got going on because clearly there's nobody in attendance, versus taking your attendance and just packing them all in there like sardines and making it look like a big deal.
Mhm.
So
Makes sense.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, like I said, I'm not really like excited, but you brought up a good point. That's something I didn't think about was, and at least somebody who loves wrestling is now in charge of it, so it shouldn't go to waste.
sure, I think, and like I said, that's the part that's kind of I'm happy about the most, is that somehow it's going to keep it alive. You know what I mean? Whether it's through a streaming service or through a like even when you have things like the free TV out there like Pluto, where they have an Impact Wrestling channel where they show old TNA stuff. Now, I was never the biggest TNA fan at all. I could never get through their shows. I thought they had really good matches sometimes.
Yeah.
But I could never get through a chronological show. I couldn't. It was too cheesy for me. Kind of like AEW today. As a show, it's like, this is kind of corny. Like, but they have good spots to it though. Like, certain matches are good and all that kind of stuff. But certain things, I'm just like, I'm not going to sit there for 2 hours and watch this show.
Right.
But I can appreciate it now because there was a lot of good wrestling going on back then. So
yeah.
So
And
when
like
they
you said
have
with
matches
Pluto,
like Kurt Angle versus you can go on Pluto and you might see Kurt Angle versus Ken Kennedy in Ken Anderson in a cage match. You know what I mean?
oh, I done caught up a lot just in the past, like for probably 2 months straight. While I was
Mm-hmm.
working, I would just leave the when you turn on like the TV, it goes right to the Pluto, or
Right.
if
Yep.
it would be on the TNA channel
Yep.
until I would watch YouTube or Xfinity. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I caught up on a lot of good matches.
And I think Ring of Honor can have that same type of flavor. You know what I mean? Because that's how they gave us TV every week anyway. If you lived on this side of the of this side of the equator, as far as the East Coast was concerned, and you had Sinclair Broadcasting, that's how they put their TV on. Like it wasn't like a chronological storyline every week. They kind of filled in the gaps in between major pay-per-views that they did monthly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or if
Excuse me.
they had a really solid pay-per-view, it would be special because the main event or matches like that, they would show as part of their TV product.
Mhm.
Right? So like when they had their Ring of Honor Vegas Extravaganza pay-per-view, right? And I miss it. And I'm not paying for people to watch it live and stuff like that. But I tune into on a Sunday afternoon at almost 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I get to see AJ Styles versus Adam Cole. When Adam Cole just comes back from injury, AJ Styles is, you know what I mean, just hit the States again after his New Japan run.
Mhm.
Like you know what I mean? Because AJ Styles was, he came in the Ring of Honor, he went to New Japan, and he came back to the States for a little bit, and right when he was at the prime of his getting his TNA stink off of him, he's in the ring. He's in the ring with one of the top guys in Ring of Honor, which is Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Like that's how they gave us television, and that's what made us enjoy it. It was different. It wasn't what we were used to. It wasn't a weekly episodic, chronological order type product, but it was something that was refreshing in the way they gave it to us. Like giving me wrestling on a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon is perfect because there's nothing else on TV on a Sunday afternoon. That's perfect for me. I told you, I don't know how many times we used to have this conversation. Like, I'm fresh out of church, and here we go, wrestling's on.
Yep.
I'm eating lunch or brunch or whatever you want to call it at the church, and I get to watch a little bit of wrestling. And it's not just random wrestling; it's wrestling of people that I actually want to see. And so, it doesn't mean it was a smash every week, man, but it was enough to get me through.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, well, it's funny you on point with the segues tonight. You talk about not paying for your pay-per-views. Somebody straight up told Vince McMahon today that they stole money from him with the hot box, and that
yep.
being Pat McAfee. Oh man, was that not one of the best interviews? I'm gonna go ahead and say this.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that more than I enjoy Vince on Stone Cold's Broken Skull sessions a few years ago. And I enjoyed that, but this one you kind of saw like a different side of Vince. And like I said, when like him saying, don't I don't care why you're late to meetings. Don't apologize. And don't come up here making a lot of noise and start, slowing down stuff. But you really could respect his work ethic. I think for people who didn't know that he, grew up in a trailer park, and he doesn't, he even admitted to one point around WrestleMania 4, feeling like he was the man, he made it, and then had to like have a look in the mirror and say, "Hey, look, all this could be taken away from you," and it almost was. So I really enjoyed this conversation.
Pat McAfee, man. I mean, you talking about a man of legend. I think he is so naturally talented at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Is because he's so charismatic, right? He has a very, very unique way of making anyone he's talking to feel so relaxed and so comfortable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Pat McAfee will bring you to an interview and ask you some really tough questions, but he does it in a way where, one, he doesn't protrude, he doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, and he just makes you just kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And I noticed it a lot when I watched Brock Lesnar there. I said Brock Lesnar looked like he just met up with a few buddies and they just had a conversation about the past. That's how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's what makes anybody that wants to do an interview or agree to an interview, because it's like, look, man, you make me feel comfortable enough to have these type of conversations with you, to answer these questions that are difficult. And that's the best I've ever seen anybody do it. Like Vince McMahon looked like he was so relaxed.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he was on. He was sitting back. He kind of, Pat McAfee cusses up a storm every once in a while. And Vince started cussing up a storm too. And I was like, man, like he's not on right now. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
He's relaxed. Like he's not like worrying about corporate sponsors and all that kind of stuff. And he's got an image to maintain. And it just goes back to what I said, man. I have a hard time, you know what I mean, with a lot of these podcast people and dirt sheet folks that try to paint McMahon to be this villain.
Hold on. I had to do it. Go ahead.
And it's crazy. No, it was necessary. And it's like, man, when you see this guy, it's a business. And I'm not making excuses for anything Vince either did or didn't do or anything like that. I mean, that's not what this is about. You know what I mean? But it's just like, man, that man catches a lot of bad rap for a lot of things that's not really that's not his fault. And I think he cleared up a lot of misconceptions about him. You know? One thing that I've heard Vince say over and over again, and I heard it specifically this time on Pat McAfee's on a show, is that, man, he values good human beings.
Yep.
And anybody that knows Vince McMahon and where he comes from, anybody that knows his background, his story, comes from having an abused childhood, being abused by a stepfather, you know what I mean? And what he used to do for himself mentally to make sure that he had his own private victories. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It shows you where his head is, right? In regards to the type of people that he values around him. Because every person, oh yeah, he's a great human being. Like he would mention his trainer, oh yeah, he's perfect. I love him to death. He's a great human being. And the TV guy, so he was great, blah blah blah. He's able to say, and not only that, he's a great human being. He values good human beings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, man, it's crazy that he's caught this bad rap. But let's not forget, there's still supposed to be a Netflix documentary. I'm talking the last, just like
kind of like The Last Dance.
The Last Dance style. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a lot of these things are probably going to be revealed as well, man. But Vince McMahon was so relaxed. He answered a lot of tough questions. He didn't dance around anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think Pat McAfee did a really good job of just making Vince feel comfortable, but he stayed on track. He gave him some room. I didn't know Pat McAfee was that good when it came to this journalism game. I did not know he was that good.
I mean, because I would see his stuff, but I'm like, I get, I like what I see on first. When he first showed up, the whole stick with Adam Cole, and that led to their match. I was like, all right, I'm team Adam Cole, and then it was like, all right, whatever. But then, when he got on SmackDown, I was like, this dude is hilarious. And then they even got spots in the arena where, you can he does this dance thing that's just strictly for that live crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this dude is pretty good. And then obviously watching some of this stuff, I've seen like some of his interviews with like Aaron Rodgers and whatnot. I think Aaron Rodgers comes on there like it was like weekly or something. Um, but I didn't get to see because I didn't like I was just like checking it out. But like you said, that Brock Lesnar interview, and it's funny because like on my TV right now, there's the from 3 months ago. You know how YouTube when you watch something they want you to catch up. There's one with him and Michael Cole. I'm gonna go back and watch that because I want to see. I'm a Michael Cole mark anyway, just because I appreciate his broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Like like people don't like Michael Cole got us through a crucial period in the Attitude Era when JR was hurt or sick.
Definitely.
And that was that Stone Cold, that Rock, it was like Stone Cold going into Austin Rock. Michael Cole got us through that. So like, I always appreciate him for that. So I'm interested to check that out. But yeah, you're right. Pat McAfee is great.
Man,
Did you get oh, go ahead.
What you saying?
I was gonna ask you, did he get a chance to check it out? Yeah, I know he been, working and stuff.
I did not get a chance to check it out. I was actually doing a shoot in Virginia at the time, but
it just came out today, didn't it? Right?
Yeah, it came out today.
Oh yeah, so it's. I
yeah,
think
I'm gonna go back and look. My fault. I ain't even cut you off.
No, you good. You good.
I'm gonna go back and look at it, and then I can get back to you brothers with my input on it.
I think you'll enjoy it a lot, man. I think Vince, he cleared up a lot of things about him that's, to me, the misunderstandings, but he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
He goat for a reason, man. I don't care what anybody say.
He really addressed some things that a lot of people have comments about. You know what I mean? Like what happened with WWE and the F thing, and he just wasn't shy about everything, man. Even with his whole persona, like, look, man, I'm Vince. You don't gotta call Vince McMahon. That's the character I play.
That was funny though when he was like, I never heard of the World Wildlife Fund either. Get that out.
Yeah, he was very transparent, man. And like I said, I moved the conversation forward about that. But one thing about Pat McAfee is that one thing outside of his he's got an infectious enthusiasm about him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Pat McAfee is so unapologetically authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of rubs people the right way when it comes to him. Because Pat McAfee was telling a story about, how he was dressed. And, they said Mike Cole had an attitude about it or whatever, who had an issue with how he was dressed. And he's like, well, F it, then I don't got to be here. Who cares? And it's like, man, I can relate to that attitude a lot. But at the same time, he just has the attitude like, look, I'm being genuine. I have nothing to lose. I don't care. If I'm the issue, then fine, I'll leave. I think that's the type of, first of all, those type of guys I think Vince just likes. You know what I mean? And one thing he talked about, he says, we've never had someone like you a part of our team. Like you're just yourself. And it just works. How you dress, how you present yourself. He said, no one's ever climbed up on the commentary and dances the way you do when Shinsuke comes out.
Yeah.
I think for the longest time, Shinsuke got booked in a lot of situations simply because of, like, that was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, man, Pat McAfee, I mean, I always thought he was good, but just watching those, I don't frequent his show, but most recently, of course, I watched the Brock Lesnar one. And then, with Vince McMahon, I mean, I thought he just did an excellent job. I can't speak enough positivity about what he's doing and his contributions to the product right now. But let me ask you this, Brian H. What were some of the highlights of that interview with Vince? Did you either like or take away from, after the fact when you watched it?
Yeah, great question. One of the things, like I said, I mentioned about, I liked him talking about the things that happened with WWE and WWF, the trademarks. Also, I loved him talking about the meetings, just his attitude towards things like, like just don't make excuses. That it was just going to show you like no nonsense. One of the things also, the fact that he always puts the fans first and was best for business.
Which is debatable.
Yeah, but I'm talking about as far as him saying like, if the fans like somebody, he'll put his personal differences aside.
Sure. Yep.
Because you always hear about you hear about that stuff like never say never. Vince can be forgiven, but to kind of hear from his mouth saying, leading with his head and not his heart, because he led with his heart and it got him in trouble a lot of times.
I mean, yeah. And here's how I know he was telling the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Look at all the times he got burnt in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
We've had this conversation before. We've talked about like, man, Vince had to turn into a shark to protect himself.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse, but it's easy to understand. When you're in a real war where you're concerned about your company going out of business.
Mm-hmm. This ain't no war. That people think it
No,
is now.
this is just for the fans.
Yeah.
This is something the fans benefit from. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like you have to watch how you conduct your business because now you have to protect your product, especially when like life was on the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I thought that was interesting that no one's ever really talked about, but once again, I know he's telling the truth because we've had this conversation before. Is when Pat McAfee asked him about how release superstars, he said, "Man, when you have to release a superstar, he's like, I'm sure that's difficult for you, but how do you manage those type of decisions?" And Vince made it very clear. Look, man, it's sometimes when you have somebody else that's coming in, they're not just going to keep loading them with talent for the sake of loading them with talent. They may let people go because they want to give those spots to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about like all my favorite guys who are pretty much utility guys. They got cut the first go round. You know what I mean? With the pandemic and COVID and that big cut list. And you look at all the young talent that's benefiting from that because they have those spots now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, there's this initial moment of being upset because it's like, how do we, you don't want to see some of your favorites go. And some of them are thriving. Some of them have really never really bounced back. But you got to think about it, though. There's never not a time where Vince has not released somebody or let someone go, and yet he didn't have a suitable replacement, whether you liked it or not.
Yep.
So I just thought it was interesting to hear him, take that approach. Like, look, man, it's a lot of times it's not about with you let a guy go, but you kind of do that in favor of somebody else coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of do that in favor of trying to bring, you have somebody else that you're going to put in that spot. And I'm like, man, it's kind of got a point. It's not like he cuts a person and then he has nothing else. Somebody eventually gets that space.
Yeah,
So,
facts. Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's phenomenal interview. Phenomenal. I was thoroughly impressed. I was shocked in the first place. I didn't think that Vince McMahon would ever do interviews. I always thought we were going to be the first ones to do a Vince McMahon interview. I said, we're going to get hit by one of Vince McMahon's cars, and he's going to try to. I said instead of suing him, I said, look, man, just show up on the show and let's ask you a few questions. And that was like I've been thinking about that since like 2015. But Pat McAfee kind of beat us to the punch, man, and I think he did an excellent job.
Heck yeah. I mean, it goes to show you something. Oh, one of the things also he talked about, it sounds like he's not in Pat McAfee's ear all the time. Like he's there, but not the way Pat McAfee said, like he doesn't get annoyed by it. When he was told, like everybody else told him, you're gonna get annoyed by hearing Vince all the time. His approach is, well, I'm gonna listen to a billionaire.
Well, see, it goes back to your professional ego. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I have never done commentary for a wrestling show before. You have. I haven't, right?
Right.
And it's not really one of our career paths. Like it's not something we've embarked on as far as our personal careers in commentary, right? So say if Vince comes to us and says, "Hey, I got an idea. I like you guys' show. Why don't you guys do commentary for us?" We're not going to take offense to that because that's not something we usually do. It's something we're coming into.
Yeah.
So there's a certain level of mentality, a certain level of respect that we have, because like, well, shoot, if this guy's doing all this time, whatever he tells me, apparently it's got to be right. There's no ego there.
Mm-hmm.
Versus somebody else that's been doing it before Vince McMahon, that did it somewhere else, that's done it, in other situations. That's kind of your art craft, and you want the freedom to do what you feel is best because that's your art form, right?
That's a good point. Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So it's not that difficult to see why a Jim Ross may get annoyed or Michael Cole may get annoyed because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Pat McAfee is a football player. He's a kicker. Yeah. He's going into a different world, and he's like, well, it doesn't bother me. If that's what he wants me to do, then by all means, I'll listen to him. Versus,
Yep. The realness, you there? Sound like he went out, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's a great point. As far as we wouldn't get offended if well, there you go. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean it goes back to what you said. Like we wouldn't get offended by it because it's not our craft. But like let us go to school for commentary. Let us call a bunch of wrestlers. Let us work for another promotion. You know what I mean? And then we go into a different company, and now we're being micromanaged. After we've done it for 10, 12 years, we probably will be offended too. But the reality is we're not. Like I said, Pat McAfee's a football player. Like he's coming into a completely different world. So he has a professional ego. You know what I mean?
I used to want to be a broadcast, a wrestling commentator. Then I was like, I like the production side better.
I did commentary one time with D.
Okay.
From DeMars from DSN. We did a high school all-star game, and we had a blast. I did color, of course. He did play-by-play, and we had so many people. I mean, it was complete low budget. You know what I mean? We shared a microphone, like a little iPhone headset piece, and he had one ear, I had another ear. He had his camera. We were literally right next to each other. I mean, straight gorilla. And we called the game, man, and it works because I was familiar with the players. You know what I mean? Because I coached in the area, I could speak on, some of these players and what they were doing and stuff like that. And I think one of the biggest compliments that I had was after the game, the people surrounding was like, man, do you guys do this all the time? And we were like, no, D does. I was just, I told him I wanted to fill in and now we'll help him out so he could kind of focus on recording the game and still calling because D's probably one of the best to do it right now. And they were like, nah, we wanted to tell you, man, how much we really enjoyed the game sitting next to y'all because like having that extra commentary really helped. And we just had fun with it. Like it was, D's a beast with the
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. D he's that dude when it comes to that. I had an opportunity to do the City Poly game, which is, for those who are not from the Baltimore area, the biggest high school football game.
Poly
the City Poly game, like I said, shout out to the City Knights. And
hey, you did just laughed at you. What's that about?
Because I said the City Poly game and he said the other way around. It don't even sound right. It's City Poly. C comes before the P.
I knew. You ever noticed that? I didn't mean to disrupt you. Don't lose your train of thought. But why is that?
What? That's the City Poly game.
Like no one ever says a Poly City game.
Only the them. Excuse me, I almost said them. But only them stupid parrots say the other way around.
Are you serious? They said
they're the only ones there.
You call them the parrots? I thought they were the engineers.
Bingo. See, they don't know what they want to be.
Wow. Okay.
But it's the City Poly game. We are the City Knights. They are the Poly engineer parrots. They don't know what they want to be. They have an identity crisis. But you know, as we have a 2-game lead in the series, plus a recent playoff win, we're the only people who say. I mean, they're the only people who say the other way around. We say City Poly. The Baltimore Sun, who named it, says the City Poly. Everybody else, you didn't go to either school. You say the City Poly. Hugh says it the other way around because his dad went there. So I get it, his dad made one bad decision in his life, and it's understandable.
Oh, that's terrible. Come on, Pop. Come on, Pop.
If Hugh, look, he was right down the street. I tried to get Hugh to go there. We could have been doing this wrestling stuff, together through high school. We could have continued it, but no, he went to go to another school. No, this is somebody else.
I want to go to City so bad, yo.
No, it's supposed to be this one.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
Even the dusty.
Yeah.
No, crazy part is, I want to go to City so bad. They told me my math grades were too low.
See, that's ridiculous.
My 7th grade math, they told me I had to go to another Baltimore City public school, and I had to transfer in.
See, Mr. Joyner dropped the ball. See, you could have had a basketball star right there. You could have had Dwayne Allen, and you could have had the reality TV star himself from The Bachelor, Eric Bigger, side by side. They would have both been in the class of 2006. They would have brought a championship.
No, I won't go that far because City sucked. And so did they coaching. They coaching sucked too.
Yeah, it was the coaching. Because, I mean, you would have had John 2 plus Sheldon Bell. Shout out to him. Work for the Raiders now. The 3 of y'all, man, what?
I haven't heard that name in forever.
Oh, shout out to Sheldon. Yeah, I talked to him via Twitter earlier this year sometime. Yeah, that was the homie right there. But yeah, like I'm saying though, you know, we was giving Damaris his flowers. But yeah, definitely one of the best to do it. You know, shout out to him. You know, he has great wrestling analysis as well. He don't do it on his show. He do it on the Flex Zone. Um, but yeah, he has his great wrestling opinions. But yeah, I got a chance to call the game with him, and it was an amazing opportunity, you know. And there was a time I did call a WSU event, and Hugh didn't take one picture. He was taking photos everywhere. Didn't get one picture of me with the headset on because I don't know if it'll ever happen again. But
I wasn't trying to break my camera.
You. This is what we doing today.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I got a question.
Uh-huh.
Is this show even live? I don't see the live thing in the corner. Are
It's
we
just-
recording?
Yeah, we're recording. It's on Twitch. Shout out to Will Five Stud. He didn't comment it a few times. He's watching.
I'm like, where's the live button at the corner? I didn't even cut you off.
Yeah, I just made it private. I mean, unlisted on YouTube. So when we name the show and all that, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, the time at WSU doing live commentary, you know, I mean, I got to call a Mia Yim match, Kiera Hogan, Mercedes Martinez. So a lot of, you know, good wrestlers out there. And it was cool. But like I said, Hugh Diddy just didn't get the picture.
Yeah, I did drop the ball on that.
You got a picture everywhere.
He won't let that go, will he?
No,
he won't.
I got a picture near the ring.
That's the one time I dropped the ball.
The one time, you know. Well, that time Britt Baker slid in your DMs because you didn't get a photo of her.
No, I had the photo. It just.
Whoa, what did I miss?
I said, you know, before she was a dentist, he was DMs about the photo, but he said he did. I mean, I know he got the one the next time, but I think he I don't know. That's Hugh's story.
Hey.
Yeah, you about to air that man out. I'm like,
I was shooting a promo real quick. I was shooting a promo for someone in the back, and I missed like half of her match. So as soon as I got out there, the match was like pretty much done. So I didn't really get any shots of her match. And then of course, that's the one time someone would ask for photos, and I'm like, dag, okay, I don't have anything. And I'm the only photographer there. Like
I didn't mean to laugh. Okay, so time out. Quick question. So if you're the only photographer there, why were you doing interviews? Like what?
Hey, that's another story.
No, I thought what you call shout out to the late great Lyle Williams.
I was there.
Yeah, shout out to that brother. May he rest in peace.
I know, right? That was my man. But yeah, he was there. But
yeah,
she specifically.
But you know, Lyle was chilling. By a lot of times, like, yeah, man, you go up there and get it.
Absolutely. By that time, he was basically just letting me get all the shots, and he was basically coaching me from the sideline, just telling me how to, you know, position myself, get different angles and whatnot. And
she was so unorganized.
And I think that was the day I wore the yellow. What was it? The New Loves.
Well, that's one of the things that Vince.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that Vince, you know, kind of was talking about. He's like, you know, you're kind of authentic, like you're you, and I think that's what kind of makes it work. So, like I said, I think when you come into something kind of new, your attitude is different towards it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine us doing this, and then you know we go work for somebody else's show, and then now they're micromanaging what we do. We're probably like, come on, man, this is what we do.
Right.
So hey, but like I said, I think some people just work well with Vince. If you fit, you fit. If you don't, you don't. What I don't like is when people try to. If you know you're that way, then don't work for a boss that has that much creative control over what goes on. If that's something, you know what I mean. To me, it's that simple. Don't go there trying to do your own thing because that's what you want to do. Like, nah, you know how this guy is. He's in charge. You know, he wants to be. The man said, and this is my segue into as we kind of wrap up this whole Vince McMahon talk. One thing he said that he's like, man, I have not worked a day in my life. He's like, man, you guys do a lot of work. He's like, man, I'm not working. He said, I'm like, that's one of the reasons I'm 76 years old still doing it. I'm having fun. And I was like, man, it's amazing to hear somebody at that age really enjoy what they do and not feel stressed out. He's like, I have not worked yet. Like that's an amazing thing. I think that's something we all aspire to do and to be at, as we kind of age in maturity. It's like, man, you want to be able to take what you do for a living, make a ton of money from it, and then have a blast doing it. Miss or make, good or bad. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah.
So a lot of good things to take away from that interview. Please go back and watch it. I think it's going to change the narrative a little bit for Vince McMahon. How fans look at him. Of course, fans like guys like JD from NY, I'm calling them out. Because it gets annoying. Like with the shock jock clickbait, and he has like this loyal following, which I get and understand. That there's a section of our audience that's like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. I get it, man, but it's just like, for me personally, I get annoyed. I'm like, bro, it's really not that serious. Like, why do you watch something that much to tear it down and talk about it's this and it's that and it's this? Like, I just don't. What are we watching it for then? Like, who hired you to be a critique? You're famous because social media made you relevant.
Yep.
Because you have an audience now. You have the power in your hands to say, okay, I have the right to talk about this and give my opinion on it. When the reality is, your opinion doesn't matter. Because guess what? You're going to keep watching it. You're going to keep talking about it. And if you come from the attitude of all presses, there's no such thing as bad publicity. You're promoting the product at the end of the day.
Talk about it.
You know what I mean? So, there's a lot of stuff I don't like about AEW or TNA back in the day on Impact, right? But we never spent time on talking about how bad something was. Because to be honest with you, if it was that bad, we didn't watch it.
Yeah,
that is true.
It wasn't worth our time. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's not, to me, it's just not that serious. Like, that's when I start breaking all my rules as a fan. I start saying stuff like, wrestling's not real, right? It should never get to that point because it's kind of tongue in cheek. It should be fun. But it's like, bro,
the group chat.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not that serious, bro. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, you taking something that's meant to be funny and turning into something completely serious that you trying to debate. Nobody debates Young and the Restless.
Sure don't.
That makes no sense. The writers didn't get it right. Why would this person leave and get shot and have a twin brother? Who cares? It's television.
Victor Newman died so many times.
Yeah, how did he come back? Is that really him? Is that a clone? It's really his son dressed up in old skin. Like, what? All the writers are dumb. They haven't figured out this show hasn't been the same, but it's been on the air for 75 years. And it's like, you got your handful of normal people. They had their thousands of surgeries to stay relevant, and you add a new cast of characters. And it's like, bro, but guess what, though? The brand name's going to stay. You still going to watch Young and the Restless.
Will they be doing that with the Batman this weekend?
Nah, I can't call it. That's not my cup of tea.
Will they be rebooking it? Will the fans
I think if you're a fan of that particular genre of Batman, and trust me, and my brother Brandon Guy can go into great detail about it, because if you talk about a comic book connoisseur, that brother, he could teach a whole class. Like, he could be a professor of superhero studies and comic book literature. If you, I'm telling you, he's got it down to a science. I mean, I was on the phone with him for an hour at work trying to get myself together, and he was breaking it down. I was like, wait a minute, I was putting all the pieces together, but man, that version of Batman is very distinct.
I'll let you know this publicly. You'll be happy to know that he approved all your Marvel characters when I used you as a cheat sheet for MacMania.
Oh, good. See?
I told him. He's like, why you ain't call me? I said, oh, yeah, my bad.
Oh, trust me. He'd have had everybody in 10 minutes. But then you know how Brandon is. Brandon would have gave you the pen. Like, no, this is why I think that. Hold on, let me explain myself. And Brandon will Brandon would. I'm telling you, Brandon will break it down. Like, he'll have you second guess. Like, well, man, maybe he's got a point. I didn't look at it that way. But
yeah.
But he's the guy when it comes to that, though, man. But yeah, man, it's just one of those things. I think entertainment should be entertainment. And if, like I said, that's what makes this, like I said, when it stops being fun, what's the point? Let's go look at something. Like, I don't watch Blue's Clues today and criticize how bad it looks. Oh, that makes no sense. Why? How did Salt and Pepper have a baby and they got paprika and then they got something else? That makes no sense. Like, Blue's Clues was better in '96 when it was like, bro, you're outdated. Blue's Clues ain't for you no more.
It's the reason why I only like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I mean, and it's like you don't have a podcast talking about why you only like that one and the rest of them are stupid.
Yep.
You don't know anything about it because you don't watch it.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with not being a cup of tea, but I don't subscribe to the theory of, oh, I'm a critic and I'm supposed to watch everything, and now I'm going to destroy whatever I don't watch. Right, but you're watching it. So now
Shout out to Goldar.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? That's just my philosophy. So like that dude, he irks me, man. I don't follow him or anything. I don't watch none of his stuff. But like, every once in a while, we've got a ton of followers when they retweet his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll say something like, "Oh, this is the most desperate move in WWE." Like, shut up! Like they're making money. You're not worried about what you think or your followers.
Well,
Like,
so, you know what was funny? Somebody posted a tweet and they talked about people who hate Vince McMahon that like love indie wrestling, right?
mm-hmm.
Guess where all those people gonna be in 4 weeks, 3 weeks?
In Dallas, Texas.
And guess why they gonna be there?
Vince McMahon. Not even
Bingo.
WrestleMania. Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Right. Come on now.
That man risked everything.
That's what I said. I said, man, think about it. I said they come on every year. People book their shows in the same area as WrestleMania. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the creme de la creme.
This what I always say. If Ted Turner would have won the war,
Wouldn't have wrestling right now.
We wouldn't. It would have been that. Hey, remember that time when wrestling used to come on TV? Now it's just in local gyms and stuff. But you remember, and people wouldn't have, like today's kids would not have been able to grasp the fact that wrestling would be on every Monday night.
Professional wrestling would have went right back to the bingo halls.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You're right.
There will be no national. There would have been no national television presence. Eventually, somebody would have made something. You know what I mean? Places like TNA would have, like they would have done something with all that talent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who knows what we will be looking at in regards to mainstream wrestling today? If the WWE didn't win, because Turner sold it, like that. People forget, like it doesn't matter how successful WCW was. The reality is they were Turner executives that didn't want the product.
Exactly.
They just didn't care. Like, what about, well, they're making money and we'll get rid of it when they stop making money. They were at their highest peak. Eric Bischoff said they didn't want us there. We were making the most money and they were upset about that because that's not what they wanted. He said that's not what they wanted. They wanted something TV related to be the reason why they were successful. They didn't want it to be because it was professional wrestling. They thought they were above that. And the reality is when you have rich executives that make decisions like that, that's what makes me nervous about professional wrestling being controlled so much by television deals. But it's been that way for the last 30, 40 years, of course. But the reality is that's what happens if an executive decides we don't want your product, I don't care how successful it is, you're in trouble. Think about it. Let's take a sports reference. When you had Jerry Krause in the Chicago Bulls, we watched The Last Dance.
Yep.
It didn't matter how successful the Bulls were. He told Phil Jackson, I don't care what the owner said, this is your last year. You know what I mean? At that point, it stops being about winning at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you got so many other, they're like, I don't care about winning at this point. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it my way. And it's just like, man, that's how executives think sometimes, especially the ones that have personal vendettas or whatever the case may be. That stuff plays a major part in it. It doesn't matter how successful your show is. If somebody goes, nah, I don't want that here anymore, just because they say that, your whole livelihood is in jeopardy. Because those who were part of WCW, they lost their jobs. They got their severance. They moved on. Some bounced back. Some did. But a lot of people. I remember Road Dogg said, man, he went there looking for a job the same day they got purchased. He was like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work out. And then before you know it, that's when he joined Jerry Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett and Total Nonstop Action Wrestling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But real quick, because I'm excited to hear what y'all think about this. WrestleMania, Edge has an opponent, and it is the phenomenal AJ Styles.
My guy.
Man. So here's what I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear from now until WrestleMania. I do not want to hear that this is going to be the Savage Steamboat match of the night. Because every time we put these high expectations on matches, they don't deliver.
Especially with AJ.
Oh,
his that's my guy, but his WrestleMania matches have not really been all that memorable.
Facts.
That is true.
Like that's my guy. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
AJ guy.
Yeah.
I look at him as a modern day Shawn Michaels, but the reality is let's just keep it 100. He's not known for his WrestleMania. He's phenomenal all the way around the board. He's not known for his WrestleManias. You know what I mean? It's like a Chris Jericho. Like Chris Jericho's great all the way, but he's not known for his WrestleMania matches. Shawn Michaels.
His Jericho's match is at WrestleMania outside the one with Shawn Michaels falls flat.
I mean, that's not what he's known for. Like, you know, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing because that means your career doesn't live and die by your WrestleMania performance, which is a positive thing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Like, it's not meant to be a negative. It's because, you know, some people live and die off what you do at WrestleMania, and that's not the case. Like, you should have a good enough career where, and these guys do, like AJ Styles and the Chris Jericho, where your WrestleMania match may not matter. Like, it doesn't have to, because it's not going to either diminish, you know, who you are or your legacy, which is a good thing, you know.
Yeah, but you know,
is there a flip side? Talk to your boy.
Because man, you know, I don't like to give this guy too much credit publicly, but HBK, and I know what you're gonna say, but that's Shawn Michaels.
There you go.
So you can get that out the way,
right?
Hey, there you go, yo.
But Shawn Michaels, if you take away his WrestleMania matches, you still have one hell of a career, right? Macho Man Randy Savage, who I think personally, before there was Shawn Michaels, Macho Man was still in quite a few WrestleManias. He's another one. Hulk Hogan obviously had a lot of moments, but he also had a few bangers.
He had the biggest moment. They've been Andre at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, but you know, so like those guys you could take away. But I just feel like, you know, I see what you saying is not looking as a negative, but what I'm looking at right now is that they're the Jericho and AJ Styles are the Steph Currys when it comes to like the NBA Finals, right? You don't think of Steph Curry having those. He hasn't had that one NBA Finals epic matchup. Now, when you really look at his stats aren't as bad as people might try to make you think. They'll try to make you think Steph Curry only averaged under 20 points a game. It's just that either LeBron or Kevin Durant just had better performances, right? So when I look at AJ Styles, like you said, not bad matches. Like Jericho had some duds. Don't get it twisted. Like Kevin Owens, Fandango. He had some duds. AJ Styles didn't have duds. Like him
Kevin Owens only had one bad.
No. Jericho had the dud. I'm blaming. I'm saying that like I'm not even putting Kevin Owens. I mean, obviously they both was in there, but you're right. Kevin Owens had one bad WrestleMania match, so I'm saying he had the dud.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but Jericho had a couple, you know, or a couple that just didn't live up to what.
Yeah, they didn't deliver.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And AJ Styles, I wouldn't say you know, his match with Jericho was that was his first one. The others was just there. So I would say more so Jericho didn't deliver. AJ Styles was, what the kids say, mid. So, but I think this one, I don't even want to think about, oh, this is going to be this epic AJ Styles Edge match. I just want to see it.
I was about to say, man, I just want to enjoy it.
Just let me see it.
I just want to enjoy it, man.
Yeah, that's all.
I think my expectations for that is it goes back to what Edge has been giving us his entire time since he's been back, and that's great storytelling.
Bingo.
You know, he's at that age now where he's like, I'm here to work smarter, not harder. You know, with my older age, I have to be able to do my storytelling with the narrative that I try to put in front of the audience rather than the spots. You know what I mean? Like Edge comes back hot with white hot baby face, as they say. You know, he has an amazing match with his wife against Miz and all that kind of stuff. You know, stuff of classic. And then all of a sudden he has to switch things up. But I'm like, man, his acting chops is probably some of the best I've seen in the ring. He's like, okay, we have to tell this. First of all, we got to re-elevate AJ because we put him in a role where he was, you know, with a younger guy. Now the young guy's kind of getting over. We got to get AJ back to this main event level. And you know, Edge said the same thing to AJ that Vince McMahon said. Like, where's that pitbull? Where's that grit that I'm looking for? And yeah, man, I think the Edge is the right guy to bring it out of him. I expect a great story to be told, and because it's the chapter one started out on a positive note. Edge just snapped, and it makes sense because we all know Edge is a little off. Like Edge has his character has historically flipped off, and all of a sudden he goes to a different space. So just that fast, Edge came out facing one segment and the end of the heel. That's not easy to do,
Nope.
and he just decided just because he didn't have a reason, but he's smart because his first promo the week before he explained himself.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "This makes me crazy. This makes me cringe. This is what has me tripping up because I live for us. I need it." Like so, when he goes heel and he snaps at AJ, you're like, well, he kind of told us last week that this kind of has him out of his not in his right mind. So it's like, okay, so you just solved two problems in 2 weeks, and Edge turns heel, you know, as he called it. And he's always gonna be a fan favorite, but it's like, man, in this situation, we got a classic good guy versus bad guy because AJ is beloved. But now, man, I don't know what to expect from them. Man, like I'll give you an example. Miz versus Edge was it wasn't a crazy classic as far as what they did in the ring, but it capped off a story that they had been talking about for a while. And then it led to another story. Well, you know,
Yeah.
it led to the next chapter in the story, which I thought was great. And I think the Miz does a great job of that as well. It's like, man, he's not going to be the one to make you go, man, you check out that Miz match. But the Miz knows how to entertain you in a way where he makes his matches memorable to fans. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I think Edge and AJ Styles will probably do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. Brother Hugh, anything you wanted to add?
Ah man, he hit it right on the head, man. Like hey, I knew he was gonna kill it because you know with AJ Styles, and I knew he was gonna kill it. But
Oh, you already knew what it was. We're talking
right,
about my guy
yeah,
AJ. I mean,
hey,
AJ and Edge's acting chops are just bar none. Like they're off the charts, man. Like and it's crazy, and you can tell that they trust Edge because it's
right.
if you look at the small subtle thing they do all the close ups on his face. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Edge comes out with his hair not wet, so it's extra frizzy. So when he starts doing certain motions, his hair goes puffs out. I said, man, this dude knows what he's. You can tell this is a guy that studied the game, that has studied
Right.
acting, especially in his time away, because it shows. And it's like, yo, he keeps giving us all these countless moments in 1 year of wrestling because he has learned to utilize. That's how you know he's an old head because all the older guys will tell you, oh yeah, that's how you make your career last longer. Because if you can do those are the things that matter to the fans at the end of the day, and you don't have to worry about flipping off, throwing 360s off the top rope.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And that's what makes Edge great. I'm like, man, he's got me dialed in because he goes into these character modes, and it's just like, oh yeah, he has learned to enter. He brings it to a different level of our perception. You know what I mean? Like Edge knows how to make his face look a certain type of way. He knows what camera to look at. He knows how to, you know, he tells all these stories without saying a word. He's going to cut his promo, but then he lets his actions do the speaking. He'll do a concerto. He'll do a second concerto, act like he needs to stop himself and go back for another two. It's like, oh, this dude is sadistic. He's showing the different caveats of how versatile heel Edge is compared to face Edge.
Right.
And it's just like, man, those subtleties makes the difference because it's like, man, those subtleties made what he did look so brutal. You like, if you didn't like AJ before, you automatically pull him for him because you were like, man, AJ like he didn't know what to do with Edge because Edge goes into psychopath mode. That's like, man, he turns to a whole different animal, and he's trying to bring out that version of AJ Styles out, and it's like it's only going to get worse. Like we're a few weeks outside of WrestleMania, and it's like, man, the bill for this is already sold because people are going to be like, yo, what's going to happen to AJ? Like, you know, is he all right? And this is the guy we look to. So
one thing about WrestleMania every year, I always say is they always sometimes it can seem like, all right, man, when they gonna start building? When they gonna start building? But man, when they start putting that card together, it's solid. You know, you got title unification match between Brock and Roman. That's gonna be, you know, just I think it's gonna be incredible. You have Charlotte and Ronda. You know, some people are for it, some people are not. But regardless of what, those are two stars.
It's money makers, man. It's WrestleMania. Like, what do you mean? Sports entertainment.
I'm about to
Yeah,
say it's entertainment. That's what you know what I mean.
yeah, you know, and I'm not the biggest Ronda fan, like to me, but it's not for me. It's I would be happy if Charlotte win. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll do WrestleMania predictions obviously when we get closer to the show, but then you also have the match with what's her name? You got Becky and Bianca. Is the realness has deemed her right here on this show. Big match Bianca, and I think that's what we get. I like her whipping Becky. Like she whipped the mess out of her. Oh boy, the Public Enemies podcast. They
Hey, I
they
can
they,
only
play,
imagine what happened over there.
Oh,
they played the music on their Twitter to
Mm.
lift every voice and sing.
Hey, see,
And she was whipping her because it was on the last day of Black History Month. But as you move forward, you think, okay, Becky's going to get her get back because it's enough time, right? And pro wrestling has programmed us to see that whoever goes down last on the go home show usually goes up at the pay per view. We're just programmed. We're just programmed to see it that way.
right.
So when I see that, I'm like, oh, Becky's coming. And I'm loving this story. It's a lot of layers, and to me, it's going to pay off. And and then you also got Sasha Banks and Naomi teaming up. I think Sasha will finally get her win. That was kind of a weird, like, okay, we're going to win the tag team titles. Okay, but we'll see. I think they have quite a few matches that will definitely have some people interested when it comes to WrestleMania.
nah, man, you hit the nail. You hit the hammer. You hit the the term.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Nail
like
right
that
on the
was
head.
yeah. There it is. That's why you got a brother Hugh in the mix, man. I could have said it better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think that's what it's about, man. And I think that's what overall what WrestleMania season should be about, especially for us older fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
it's the
Like,
homecoming. Think about how many people who don't watch wrestling but have the Peacock channel that will tune in just because.
Just
You
because.
know.
I mean, but it's like you said, like homecoming. Like, how many times do we go back to our alma maters and the team's never good, but it's like that don't stop you from going to homecoming.
Right.
Like we go to I know you and I graduated from we all graduated from Morgan State. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's the record of the team never dictated what homecoming was going to be about.
Half of us never go to the game. Sorry.
I mean, but that's homecoming. Like that's not
Yep.
abnormal. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's part of it sometimes, and it's like WrestleMania is just one of those like it's one of those things. Like it's a homecoming, and it's fun for us older guys. I say older, like we just been watching for a minute.
Mhm.
To experience those type of things, whether we knew, whether it's new, whether it's not new, whether we like it, whether we don't like it. So
Yeah. Before we get out of here, y'all want to go through this AEW card really quickly? Make
let's do it.
predictions.
Peace on it.
All right. So AEW Revolution this Sunday. Now I probably won't be watching live. It's my anniversary weekend. Even though I think my wife is doing other stuff. I said, look, I ain't make no plans. So guess what? Y'all know what that means. If
You
plans are
get
made, I don't get in trouble.
Yep, there you go. I say don't. It ain't worth it.
Yeah.
But not be watching live.
But if I do, that's because she has something else to do, and I don't get in trouble. But yeah, we got AHFO. I guess that's Andrade. Isaiah Cassidy and Matt Hardy taking on Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Sting.
Skip. When does Jeff Hardy come in?
What?
Yeah, faces win this one. That's what I see.
There you go. Faces win. Next.
All right. They got the face of the Revolution ladder match. I don't know what did they get after this, but anyway,
they get a shot at the TV title, don't they, or the TNT title?
Oh well, that's just nice.
No, they don't, because that's between Christian and.
No, you're right. You hit it right on the head. Most
Keith Lee,
likely,
is it Keith Lee and Hobbs?
It's Keith Lee, Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Wardlow, Christian
Yeah,
Cage.
yep. Yeah, they get
Cassidy.
they get a shot at the TNT title.
Yeah, I like Keith Lee to win this. What y'all think?
Yeah, probably. He's the flavor of the month right now.
Yeah.
I think he'd be the perfect man to hold the title. You know what I mean? Just so give somebody fresh to hold it. Somebody that's credible, a former champion. I'm a Keith Lee fan when he doesn't do too much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
Keith Lee comes out there, he just kind of smirks and he poses.
Right.
I'm like, man, that's how he should be booked. You don't have to do too much. And I think, I'm grateful for AEW that allows guys to do stuff like that instead of overly booking them and trying to change their personas. Because sometimes some things don't need to be messed with. And I think he was one of those guys like, man, let him just be himself. So don't let him talk too much. Let him smirk and let him beat people up, and he'll get the job done.
Yeah.
I agree. I think he's going to come out on top on that one, and he's going to get the belt and just start that feud with Hobbs.
Okay.
Let's get it. That's it. That's who's the biggest beefy. What was it? Your boy, Vince McMahon. Beef.
Yep, exactly.
Beefiest guy out there. Like who's going
big sweaty meat, big sweaty men beefing meat, something. That's what Big E say. But yeah, move on. Can this guy win the big one? Chris Jericho taking on Eddie Kingston. I think Eddie Kingston wins this. I think finally, he been losing and losing and losing. And I think that's the story they telling here. So I think he gets that final win.
I like
Not
Eddie
final
Kingston.
win, but I think he gets that win.
I like Eddie Kingston. I just don't think I'm just not a huge fan of what he does in the ring. I'm not a fan of his look. I think he's probably top promo guy in the business right now. I think he gives the most passionate promos about anything, man. I just when he talks, I believe him. You know what I mean? But in my case, personally, and then the bell rang. Yeah, that's why I'm like I've never said I got to watch the Eddie Kingston match, but man, when that guy gets on a microphone, he can deliver a promo.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be a great manager one day.
Oh, definitely.
I'm going with Kingston on that. I mean, just judging by the promos or whatnot and the storytelling behind that whole situation, it just seems like Jericho is setting him up to put him over. Yeah, I'm going Kingston.
And then again, even if he doesn't get over, man, he's in a match with Jericho. Like, when is Eddie Kingston ever going to get a shot at a
right?
You know what I mean? A matchup with Chris Jericho. He's known to be an indie guy. You know what I mean? And that's not negative connotation by any means. I don't want that to be misconstrued. You know what I mean? But his brand of pro wrestling has never really mixed with someone like Chris Jericho. Like, when will they ever have had a chance to? So I think it'll be a contrasting styles, but I think it'll be a great moment for him personally.
Yeah.
Also, Jericho's a former AEW champion, by the way. You know what I mean? So that
that's
counts
another
for
good
something.
point.
That counts for something.
Wow.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you forget? He's the greatest AEW champion of all time.
I just forgot about it.
Champion.
I've had a lot on my mind.
Sure.
Moving on, we got this is probably the match a lot of people are looking forward to. I mean, we've seen it already, but in this program, CM Punk versus MJF. As much as I'm a jaded wrestling fan, so I gotta go. Punk bled, so he wins.
Yeah, I don't see why he doesn't win. I mean, I don't think MJF loses anything by losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this has been one of the more memorable feuds for AEW in their history. When it comes to when you come back, you're gonna say, what were the feuds that you remember the most? I'm glad they have a story to it. It's a lot of depth in this. You know what I mean?
It is.
And I'm appreciative of that, man. I think they're doing a really good job of telling a story between the two. And but yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't see what the long-term plans are based off what I'm watching, and that's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? Because you shouldn't be able to book what's going to happen next based off what you're looking at. So I don't know, and I think that's the best part is if you can get an older fan like me to have a question, I say, I don't know what direction they're going, because you can say, well, hey, let's preserve the legacy of CM Punk and what he stands for, or do we give MJF that rub and say, okay, fine, look, let him lose to a MJF, let him finally get him over, but then what do? Do you put him right back in the title picture?
Right.
Because a huge win over a Hall of Fame worthy talent like CM Punk has got to lead to something after that.
Imagine this will be 2 wins over.
Yeah, that's there you go. Like, does he get another one? So I don't know. We'll see.
Man,
Told you.
you know how I feel about CM Punk.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. But in this case, man, just put my feelings aside. I gotta say CM Punk probably come out on top.
Okay.
I can
It's
see
just
that.
what fans will want. Honestly, it just seems like that's what the fans will want.
Yeah.
I also love MJF. So, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, Dwayne, it is kind of up in the air. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lovely part about it, like that sense of just not knowing.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's kind of leaning towards CM Punk,
Yeah, I
right,
concur.
for me.
Yeah, I think one of the things about this, like you brought up, it do seem like they do book like straight babyface territory to keep the fans happy. AEW TBS Championship, Jade Cargill versus Tay Conti. Jade, I don't see nobody taking the title for her anytime soon.
No.
Nah, yeah, Jada, no explanation needed.
Mm-mm.
All right, here's one: the tag team championships. I'm gonna be nice.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna call them by their real name. You got Jurassic Express
I
defending.
I
I
was
was,
waiting to call him Jurassic Park. I
I
swear to
was
goodness.
definitely about to say part right.
I was waiting to call him Jurassic Park.
They defended against Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks.
Phew, this is gonna be a good one. This might be a spot fest, but this is gonna be like this would be great if Jurassic Park wasn't a part of the match.
Bingo.
Like I'm like, oh, that should be a good Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks. Like, can we just do that?
Well, I feel like that's about to happen anyway.
I
I
think I
mean,
think we're kind of treading those lines.
Mm-hmm.
we are, and I think
You
if
got
there
you got a
was,
Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
and that's why I'm gonna go with Red Dragon. I'm looking on CBS, and the writer, both two people who made their predictions for the retain to happen. But I'm going with Red Dragon. I don't. I think they sneak in, get the win, and then that helps build that tension. There's no need to drag this out any longer. Maybe you could, but you could have them both with the belts, and then slowly but sure have one with the belts and one sitting there like we should have been champs. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Red Dragon.
They probably had the most momentum for me personally as a tag team. I've always been a Red Dragon fan. I wasn't a fan when they broke up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've always liked them better as a tag team because of
Mhm.
what naturally happened in WWE. Like I had a feeling eventually when they break this up, they're not going to be the same as singles competitors, and they are respectable singles competitors. But I like them better together,
Mhm.
and that goes back to the Ring of Honor days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Out of the three teams, they definitely make the most sense. I would say,
Mhm.
like you said, you brought up a good point where like you put the belt on them, that kind of enhances their sense of cockiness or confidence, and then it feeds into the fire of the conflict with the Young Bucks.
Mhm.
That makes sense to me. The Young Bucks honestly don't really need it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then Jurassic whatever. Like you can just do whatever with
Jurassic
them.
Park.
They're
I mean,
already over. Right. Yeah.
the
They're
fans love them.
they're
The
already
fans,
over. So it's
yeah,
like
and
Dang.
that's
you
the
really
truth
gonna lose
though.
anything from it? You know?
And that's the
Mhm.
truth though. They're fan favorites. That doesn't matter what they do. Like the fans love Jurassic Express. You know what I mean? And you are absolutely 100% right. Like whether they win, lose, or draw, the fans are gonna love them regardless. Like they're a novelty act almost. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Play that music and come out, they're gonna go nuts for them. You know what I mean? They're kind of like they remind me of the Street Profits a little bit. You know, and they're both two tag teams I was never really high on, but it's not
Mhm.
really about me. The fans love them. They love the energy they bring.
Yeah.
They do well for their respective companies. So
Well, it's like you said, when why spend time talking about something you don't like? That's why I don't get over here every week and talk about
mhm.
them. So we all rolling with Red Dragon.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep.
All right. The AEW Women's World Championship. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. No, I'm not doing that hand gesture. It's the most annoying thing in wrestling. Taking on
You gotta do it now.
nah, taking on Thunder Rosa. I'm I'm actually going. I think the Doctor holds on. I think she owes on. She's closing in on 1 year's champion. I think she gets that year celebration. What y'all think? Do we see a new women's champion?
No.
I was about to not at all.
I don't think this is big enough pay-per-view for that to happen. Not like nothing against it, you know what I mean? But it's like I think they kind of say that moment when usually in my mind, when you have a champion that's that dominant that holds it for such a long time, by the time they lose, it's usually over a big deal.
Yeah.
For instance, like a Becky Lynch. Like we've been waiting all this time for the redemption of Bianca Belair. You know what I mean? So if Bianca were to win at WrestleMania, it will be sweet redemption because of how long, one, Becky Lynch has held the title, and two, all the stuff that has happened since SummerSlam.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's just, you know, as a wrestling fan, that's what I'm used to noticing when you have, you know, a superstar holding a title for a long extended period of time, not to lose it at a kind of a second-rate pay-per-view. But I've been wrong before. You never know.
Yeah. Hugh, is your girl holding on to the belt?
Yes, man, she's keeping it, bro.
I know y'all like the same colors, black and.
Not for the same.
For you to be an Oriole fan, you sure, and a Ravens fan, you sure love you some black and gold.
Hey,
black and yellow.
First of all, you already know what the reason is. That's my logo colors. You know what I'm saying?
You chose your logo colors.
It only makes sense. Come on, you see my initials.
It does make sense.
But
yeah, she wins.
All right. So this is the match to me that's the main event. Like this is the only match I really care about.
Yes,
and that is Jon Moxley taking on the GOAT, the real best in the world, the best wrestler in the business today.
Cue it.
Bryan Danielson.
Daniel Bryan.
This is a tough one for me.
I don't want to see this match. Come on, man. They're going to kill each other. Contrasting styles. Daniel Bryan's lost his mind. He's having. I'm like, dude, this is dangerous. He makes me cringe when I watch him wrestle. I'm like, man, he's really going balls to the wall. And then just letting him. I'm like, yo, I haven't seen this version of the American Dragon since he was the American Dragon.
Right.
Like he is extremely violent. And it's as much as I'm enjoying it, I'm nervous. Like, ugh, like, dude, you missed 3-4 years with a concussion, and you just like taking elbows to the face. And I love his character. I love what he stands for. But you know, I'm not the biggest Jon Moxley fan. But I'm like, how else are they gonna make this? How else are they gonna make this matchup even matter? They're gonna kill each other. They're gonna kill each other. They're going to kill each other. And I'm just like, oh gosh, Daniel Bryan, please don't end your career in AEW, fool around, trying to make, you know what I mean? You know, Moxley. Listen, Moxley is one of those guys. Like he's an established polarizing figure. Like I love him, but I'm just not a fan of him. Like I love the idea of Moxley. I'm just not a fan of his. You know what I mean? Like he leaves me a lot to be desired when he's in the ring. Like, you know, but they're gonna kill each other. I don't want to see this. I'm like, man, I want to watch these guys destroy each other. You're not gonna get a technical wrestling match. They're gonna kill each other.
For sure. Man, I'm conflicted. I like American Dragon, of course. Then you got Moxley. You know how I feel about Moxley, man. That's my man. But I'm gonna have to go with what you call him, Daniel Bryan. Bryan. We'll have to go with Daniel Bryan because Moxley is gonna come out to Wild Thing, and I cannot stand that music for him. I get it. I understand it.
Major League Baseball, man.
Hey, all right, that's something different, buddy. That's something
different. Right here in Baltimore at the greatest baseball stadium in the world.
What stadium is that?
Opacity.
Okay.
Oriole Park at Camden Yards.
For those that don't know, but we should get some money for that.
Aren't they pushing the walls back at Camden Yards?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you know, we can't feel seats and too many home runs being hit.
Okay.
But that's good. That's a good thing. We won't give up so much runs because we bad.
No, he's still
Hey, the Seattle Mariners looking real good over there. How you doing?
Nah, don't jump ship.
You've been
They
trying to
got
do
a
that
black.
for a while
They got a
now.
black man on their ownership, and that's
Oh, wait a minute.
the greatest baseball player ever.
The plot thickens.
Exactly.
Okay.
Ken.
Yes,
Mhm.
sir. Yes,
Ken.
sir.
Ken.
Junior Griffey.
Hey, look, man. If Griffin come calling us,
Hey,
Gotta take a trip.
yeah.
absolutely.
Now, I ain't
To
gonna
Seattle
live
we
in-
go.
I ain't living there, but we'll be rocking. We'll
Man,
trade it.
listen, they can afford to fly us back and forth.
Yeah, bingo.
Right.
We'll
They got
rock
baseball
that
money.
teal. Yeah, even though they're on a lockout, but that's a different story.
Yeah, they definitely rejected that offer. Not gonna get into that. It's not a baseball podcast, but
yeah,
Right.
but yeah, I want to go with the man from Seattle. I'm going with a draw here,
yeah, of course. That's an AEW finish. Like somehow they both don't lose.
but they both gonna bleed because in
Oh,
order
it's,
for
it's,
Yeah, for sure.
it's gonna be blood.
they gotta bleed. That's what Moxley said.
They're gonna kill each other. I just hope there's no exploding ring with sparklers, but
Oh my gosh.
they're
And
gonna
then
kill
we
each
fall
other.
asleep in the main event.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is gonna be a good main event.
Yeah, you think so? I mean,
I
What is the
think
it's gonna be a good match.
Adam Cole and Hangman Page.
Adam Cole and Hangman Page. It's gonna be a good match when you go back and watch it. If you're not watching it all at once,
I agree with you though. That's
what.
absolutely.
By the time we get to this, we're gonna go through that tag team match.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, what was that pay-per-view? The one where Punk had his first match back. When they had the tag team match with the Bucks and the you know what I'm talking about, Pentagon and his brother.
Oh yeah.
Like, what was we
Death
supposed
Triangle.
to do after that? Yeah, like, come on, like nothing else could come after that, you know. So for Christian and Omega
Hang on,
to
Ray
be in
Phoenix won that title. Yeah, that was.
yeah, they better open up with this match.
They better figure it out. They better open it up with it. But
You got to make the Bucks. Y'all know I ain't the biggest like Young Bucks fan. I respect.
I
what
remember
they
you
do.
hated the Young Bucks.
I did at one point during them ROH days.
And then remember they came down and burnt the roof off the building. You were like, dang, that was good. Straight spot fest. Old fashioned spot fest.
Because Charlie would be like at work, yeah, man, you gotta like them because they're so good at what they do.
Old fashioned spot fest. They were flipping there everywhere. Everybody was eating it up. Just straight indie. It was lovely. We were going nuts.
You can't deny it, man. They are nice.
Bro, we lost it in there. We were like, you gotta be kidding me. Old fashioned spot fest. You kidding me?
But yeah, I think as much as I want to see Bay win, as much as Bay should win, Hangman Page gonna retain.
Of course, it's gonna be some type of disqualification. You know, the rest of the Undisputed Era is gonna get involved somehow.
Like this, is what I want to see. Go out of the normal for booking, man. Like we pretty much we've been watching wrestling long enough that we've almost have the same exact predictions.
But you know what the crazy part is? You know what I learned about that? I learned that they redo those things for the people that didn't get to see it when we did.
Oh, good point.
And those young kids. It's like in the action figure world when we got action figures, and sometimes they'll re-release a figure, and all the old they're like, oh, why would they re-release that figure? Why would they give them a different likeness and a different what you call it? And it's like, well, you got to think about it for all those people that missed out on the first run. You know, it's a new audience, a new generation. They're like, okay, we'll give them a chance. So they come out with an updated version of what, you know, might have came out early on. But it's like, well, it's kind of the same thing. Like, hey, it's, you know, for this generation.
Hold the title for a couple months, then pass it on somebody else. I want to see a quick title change here and there.
Adam Cole's got to do something about his body, man. Golly.
Speaking of which, did y'all see Jericho?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jericho and his Vince weight.
Yeah, people speculate when Jericho starts trying to, you know what I mean?
That's not fair. That's not fair. He just dropped the weight. That's not fair.
He is 50 years old.
Older than me. And
everybody's like, Chris Jericho's trying to get himself together again. You know, because Chris Jericho, he got a little tubby with the inner circle.
Man, he was out.
He got a little tubby in the inner circle. But
a little pregnant, yeah.
Him and X-Pac, they'll lose weight. Like X-Pac will be struggling out and then have an 8-pack. And I'm like, bro,
Yo, speaking of X-Pac, I know
Yes,
we about to go home soon, but man, he looked good.
it does.
He did, and try to retire.
Yeah.
But bad boy Joey Janela, who I think is not that good. I think he's another guy. He's got a
Could have
great
told you that a
persona.
long time
He's like the
ago.
greatest wrestler ever.
He has a great persona, and then the bell rings,
Mm-hmm.
and then the bell rings.
Leo Rush carried him for years,
Of
Oh,
course, come on now.
but they
Leo
was
Rush.
like it was Leo and there was Janela, you know,
Mhm.
and you could see it like the whole time. Like they had some cool, like you said, the bell ring, but the promos leading up to that thing, they had some spot fest, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Did y'all watch anything this week? Any indie wrestling?
Nothing on the streets, man. I haven't had a
You
chance
ain't
to
hit
catch
the
up. It's been
streets.
a busy week as far as independent wrestling and stuff like that. But I've been, trying to stay current with everything. But I hope to get back to it really, really soon.
Yeah.
Nah,
You
nothing,
here?
nothing on my end. You know me. I'm always on the road.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm trying to get back to it too. So
Yeah, I of course watched. I was in the title match this past Friday. I know I was doing my other job. And I have to give a shout out to Rache Chanel, the
hey,
brand new Vixens Genesis champion, the inaugural Vixens Genesis champion. Shout out to her too for quote tweeting the wrestling around with hashtag and new hashtag bougie 2 bags. So shout out to her. Also, shout out to Mia Friday picking up the win over Amber Rodriguez finally after Amber beat her twice. And then she picked up the win only to lose to Rachel Rose, who would become the Vixens world champion. So I was watching that. It was a good tournament. Got a good workout in too. So anytime I can get some good wrestling in while I'm doing some cardio, it's a win for that day.
Yep.
hey,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh, you know what else I watched today? But I got to go back and look at it because I was like, I'm put it on, and then I had to put my headphones on.
What's that?
10 pounds of gold with Nick Aldis and the NWA World's Champion Matt Cardona. I saw that on my on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta watch this." Like,
I gotta go back and watch that. I'm glad you said something. It's crazy. I knew about it and I scrolled past it, but I was so busy doing what I was doing today. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I do got to go back and watch that.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of good wrestling out here, man. It's for everybody. Bottom line, it's if you're in the women's wrestling and you don't like what WWE or AEW is doing, you have quite a few promotions. Mission Pro, CCW Action. Shout out to Moncello, formerly known as Black Ice from D-Line. The owner of that promotion. You got championship wrestling from Hollywood, championship wrestling from Memphis. The list goes on and on. Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. I might have it wrong. That's Jazz and Rodney Mack's promotion down in Texas. So it's a lot of good wrestling out here, and it's so at our disposal. You can just turn on YouTube. So ain't no reason for people to be upset. And apparently, Shane Strickland is on his way to AEW. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him, but I think the realness called it earlier. I think we might see a debut in Jeff Hardy. So we shall see. But like I said,
I'm over it now. I was not happy about him not being WWE, but I'm a Jeff Hardy guy, so if he's gonna be somewhere.
might as well.
Yep. I do the same thing I did in Impact. I just watch his matches when I can.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So,
yeah. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Gentlemen, want to roll to
And his mic cut out.
Right, and Sean did.
He told us we were on the road to WrestleMania. I think that's what he's going to say.
Yeah. Well, you know me, Mr. Promoter.
There you go.
Baby.
Oh, see, I was ready to say something real insightful.
You were.
Let's try it again. Hold on. Take two. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, gentlemen, we want to roll to WrestleMania. And this journey's been pretty good. It's always fun to go along with your good brothers. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. Let's ride this wrestling wave. Let's have some fun in the process, man. I'm looking for it. This is wrestling homecoming. So let's boogie.
Yeah. Oh, we also taking bookings. You'll get 3 of us this year.
NWO style.
Yep. Let us know you want the Wrestling Realm on your podcast, virtual only at this time. But yeah, let us know. We'll make it happen.
Hugh,
We'll
are
get
you okay
on.
with being Scott Hall? I'm kind of Kevin Nash because I'm tall. He's Hogan for obvious reasons.
Oh,
You
yeah.
okay with being... Okay, just check. I want to ask you first.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
All right, just checking.
All right, so if we was DX, how would it be? Just for giggles.
Right.
Huh.
Back in the day, he used to be X-Pac in school.
No, that wasn't me.
No, you was Billy Gunn. My bad.
Yeah.
Well, who would you be, Brian H?
What in DX?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Probably Road Dogg. But then again, and I probably shouldn't say that over the airwaves, whatever.
So you guys
I'll
are
be
doing
Triple
job
H.
I'm naturally Shawn Michaels just by default.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'll be Triple H.
That's all right. It's all good. We'll be our own version of DX.
Rebooking the factions, man.
I can be rude.
You said rude.
Come on. You're cooler than rude. Come on now.
Wait, whoa. You ain't think Rude was cool?
In DX though, come on. Now. He was there for a cup of coffee. Like, he was out there with a suit and a suit. He was there with a suit and a suitcase.
So I haven't got that far yet because I gotta watch that and understand why was he there.
Shawn Michaels said they just picked him up. Like, dude, you want to be part of the group? Like
Right.
it was no real reason to it. You just
He just happened to come over and then it was just like, hey, well, we need something for you. All
there
right.
you go.
Okay.
You saw what happened when they screwed Brett. He said, "Bye-bye, I'm out." Yeah. The Hart Foundation is another interesting one. I'm telling you, this 97 stuff, man. I see why realist. I always see why I used to talk about it. Like that Bret Hart 97 run.
My gosh.
It's so much fun stuff there.
It is, man. I told you. It's slept on. It's those the early generation years, and then in those years, like it was some gems in there.
I'm gonna tell you a match I enjoyed: Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at the '97 King of the Ring.
I'm telling you,
Nobody talks about that match.
It's one of my favorites.
Nobody, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, let me see, because as the match is going on, I'm enjoying it, and I'm like, is this gonna be something that people's like, nah, man, you tripping? And it's like match going on. I say, yo, this is a good match.
See, I tried to tell you.
Right.
But you know what the crazy part is, though?
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling during that time is kind of how I feel about a lot of alternate wrestling right now, where it's hard to get through a whole show, but there were just a lot of gems, like individual matches and moments were cool, but you sit there and watch. You ever watch a Raw from '97? You're like, man.
Oh, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So, there was this match like Timothy Rogers versus somebody else, and I'm like, wait, what? It was like
it was a lot of filler matches.
Jobbers versus jobbers. They had Iron Putski's son or something. Ivan Putski's son in there wrestling. I'm like, wait, who? So yeah, it was definitely a lot of fillers, but man, when they was hitting, when you had the Hart Foundation, you had the Nation of Domination. Undertaker was exactly what Adam Page is today. He was an afterthought, even though he was champion, because the show I was more concerned with Stone Cold Steve Austin and the Hart Foundation, and then I was concerned about the Nation of Domination. So now I'm getting to the point where Paul Bearer is basically holding the Undertaker hostage. And that's like, okay, now you got me interested, but it still doesn't compare to like I said, it's just like what Adam Page is today. Like now I'm just starting to get interested in what Adam Page is doing. And that's simply because he's going against Adam Cole.
Yep. Man, you, like I said, you can tell that you've been watching it. That was a perfect breakdown analysis.
I always tell people, like, sometimes you just got to go back and you used to say this all the time when there was Rest in peace, WWE Network. But when the network
Oh,
was
don't get me
around,
started.
when the network was around, used to say this. Used to be like, "Yo, I just go back and look at some of the old stuff because, and just put yourself in that timeline, just go through it, like binge watch it. Like, look, it's no secret. I don't like sports right now. The Lakers are terrible.
Their
Just
sports
lost to the
league.
Clippers today, by the way.
Huh?
Just lost to the Clippers, by the way.
Oh my gosh, again? What's
Yeah.
that, like 8 straight? They're just trash.
I think I'm going back to the Warriors at the end of the season. I'm making an announcement. I'm gonna finish the season out, but going back to the Bay.
You good. I'm rooting for the Sixers to win it all this year.
Why is it the one time I come back to the Lakers?
I didn't even know you was
What
back.
Yeah, Melo's there, right?
Yeah, that's why we losing.
Exactly.
Hugh ain't been with us since 8th grade.
That's what it is.
I think he's so ashamed that he's just saying this now publicly that he's with the Lakers.
Right.
Nobody knew.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame you. He stink right now. It's bad.
They're terrible. The Ravens, that was a horrible end of the last 6 games.
Man, we having a hard time trying to re-sign Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that
I'm
too.
hearing reports that he's not even interested in talking right now. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear something about Hollywood possibly could be retiring to play games or something?
Hey, look.
I heard it's a rumor, but like,
yeah, and people keep saying he ain't gonna make enough money. Look, if that's what make that man happy, go play video games.
Right. Money in that, trust me.
Yeah, that's what people say. I'm like, y'all just don't know the business. But yeah, and then the Orioles, baseball can't get itself together. The Orioles are terrible. So guess what? I'm engulfed in wrestling. Send me wrestling. If you got wrestling out there, now I'll watch it. That reminds me, I had one person from high school. He was on the Indies. He started sending me a couple of his matches. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you might have to talk about that one.
Indie wrestling, man. But yeah, that's what I've been doing, looking at some of the old stuff. And I ain't even going I ain't gonna try to simul watch like 97 Raws and 97 WCWs. Like I'll really be going crazy.
It's a waste of time because you won't go back to watching WWF stuff. You be like, man, forget this. I'm gonna stay right here in WCW.
But like I said, though, watching this WWE stuff, it's not that bad. Now granted, it's like what I see is that it was good and they were starting to get it together. The world just hadn't caught up because WCW was just on fire.
I felt the same way when I went back and watched wrestling from 2003 and 4.
Okay.
When Shawn Michaels was just starting to get his mojo back, when Randy Orton then was starting to come alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't watching. I was not a fan then, but I went back and watched with Scott Steiner and all of them. I was like, oh, this wasn't bad. Booker T was on Raw, stuff like that. I was like, well, wait a minute, this really wasn't that bad.
I said this the other day. Shout out to Coley. I was on his Coley's Corner for a little bit. Excuse me. And it was talking about the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. And I said a lot of people got out of it. The ones who love wrestling stay with it, and I'm not going to ever say the Ruthless Aggression Era was better. But the thing where you saw like the real wrestling fans, the ones that who was going more than likely for life, Ruthless Aggression. It's very rare you hear like an Attitude Era kid go from Attitude Era into Ruthless Aggression and off. If they stay with Ruthless Aggression Era, more than likely they stay with right.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I concur.
Yeah. But y'all got any final thoughts? I didn't say enough. The final thoughts. I went down a rabbit hole in wrestling. Huh?
I think hold on. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Everything's moving slow, babe.
Now I can't hear you. I can hear you.
Oh no, I think we're good over here, honestly. I mean, I have nothing else to really add to the conversation.
Uh-oh.
And he's gone.
Did Brian H dip?
He did. He just left.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. Well, see, that's the crazy part. That was the final thoughts, and we could wrap it up right now, but we don't have the button to push.
Right.
So now Brian's probably panicking right now, trying to figure out how he can get back on, so he can wrap this up. But at the end of the day, like I said, man, it's the road to WrestleMania.
I lost you.